Hi, how are you? It's me, Jean, and I want to ask you a question, okay? Unpredictable mood swings, risky behaviors, poor decision making, stress, drama. Sound familiar? Maybe you're most likely living with a teenager and their beautiful developing brain, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, am I ever going to make it through? Right? And then you think back to your development through those teen years, and you're like, surely I wasn't this, confused or this way out there. And you just never know, right? So as parents, we get to walk through each of the emotions in order to proceed to that next developmental stage. And it's not only emotional for them, but it's emotional for us, and watching them go through the different stages. So buckle up, and you're not alone. And I'm here to say there is a healthy, pro-social adult waiting for you on the other side. So it does get better, right? It's just kind of fun to watch and know what is going on. So, hi, this is Jean Harville, and I'm Jean Harville. I'm the founder of the Moms of Teens Connection and Support for Families Raising Beautiful Future Leaders, right? And I'm the creator of the Empowered Mom and Teens program. We're going to put teens in there. We're going to release it later this fall. And these are proven strategies from neuroscience on becoming that heart-centered mom and creating the calmness and the confidence and the certainty in your life as well as your teen's life. And so I've worked with moms and teens for 30 years in teaching, both private and public, and as in a clinical setting as well, and understanding that brain and its development. And I'm also a master neurocoach and a learning strategist, and I'm a mom of two young adults who went through those teen years and are now young adults. So I have that personal experience as well. Click the bell in the YouTube if you're on YouTube, and to subscribe to my channel, and find that like button below here, even on Facebook and also in YouTube. And my lives are about parenting your teens based on neuroscience and brain development, and understanding how we can create the life that we desire by simply using the power of neuroscience to understand our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, decisions that we make, and the results that we create, right? So we get to create whatever it is that's happening and what's going on. So it's been found that the brain's ability to understand in a mature way is at least age 16 or 17, right? Okay, and so this was an experiment that was done, and I'm sure you're going to be able to guess the outcome of this, but we're going to go on a little bit further as to why this outcome happens, right? So here's what I mean. At Temple University, there was they had teen drivers. They recruited teen drivers, and they had peers. And so what they did is they ran them through an experiment, and they wanted to see what these teen drivers would do. They're on simulation machines, right? They're not out actually in the cars driving, on simulating machines. And they knew that their peers were watching, their peer classmates were watching. So they wanted to determine what would happen if these teens are driving along, so to speak, and a yellow light appeared. What would they do? Would they speed up through the yellow light, or would they stop and wait for the red light, right? And for it to turn green again. And what is your prediction? Yeah, right. They sped up, went through that yellow light, especially when they knew their peers were watching. So that risky behavior is more risky when they have more of their peers there watching them. No surprise, right? The thing is they found is that when the peers were not there watching, they stopped for the yellow lights and waited patiently for the light to turn back to green again. So it's only when their peers were watching, or they thought or knew their peers were watching, that they actually sped up through those lights, as opposed to if they knew that their peers were not there, they would actually stop and be, and drive correctly. And so I thought, that was interesting, that even though they do know the correct behavior. They do know to stop at the yellows and wait for the greens, but they would be egged on are thinking that they're being egged on if they were being watched by their peers. And so with with this understanding and the knowledge that their friends were able to see them, they would do that risky thing. And we've always thought about, they're more likely to go to do more and more riskier and riskier things when their friends are there. So that, and what happens with, they found out by looking at this through the neurosciences, what was really causing this to happen. And was it the peers, or what was it, something inside their brain? It was the reward center inside the brain that would activate, and they were wanting that reward of whatever that was, of clapping or the woohoo or whatever reward they were receiving from those peers that were watching. And the teenage peers were looking for, or the teenagers were looking for, peer approval, and that seemed to be highly rewarding, right? So there's that strong correlation between the brain's reward center and that riskier behavior. And we kind of always have kind of seen that is they're not going to on their own go climb that cliff. They're going to, be egged on by their friends to climb that cliff as high and as fast as they can, whether it's safe or not safe, right? So what's happening is that we have the brain, as the brain does not develop all at the same time, at the same rate. So we have parts of the brain that are developing and evolving faster than other parts. So the part that involve the rewards and motivation mature much faster than the parts that the think in the prefrontal cortex that helps you make those decisions. Is this safe? Should I do this? Do I not do that? That does not evolve or become mature until the age 25 or beyond. And so we have an imbalance in what's going on with the brain there, okay? So it's something for us to know as parents and to watch out for. How is it that we want to keep our kids safe without impeding their ability to figure this out? Because oftentimes it is said that sometimes when we want to try to do something new, we get ourselves stopped because we're thinking about, the social implications. We might be seen by so-and-so, and we might look silly or whatever. When we stop, we don't want to do whatever that new thing is. But these kids don't have that stopping, right? And right now they're unleashed and they want to try new things. They're not thinking about the hazards. We are, but we get to sit back and just kind of protect them in a way that's not impeding their ability to use their creative brain, their creative mind, to try something new. This is how we progress along in our society, is to try something new without those parameters that say, you can't do that, that's not safe. So we're kind of, as parents, having to decide, well, how much do I give leeway do I give my kids, my teens, to try something new, and I know what the consequences could be if they went too far, and I'm not sure that I want those consequences to happen to them. However, we have to remember that we did this when we were young. This is how our brains developed. And we were told by our parents not to do something because it wasn't safe. So we said, oh, okay, we abided by that. So we missed out on learning something new or trying something new or moving forward because we thought, well, mom said that would not be safe, so I'm going to not do that unless you were a rebellious child. And I'll tell you, rebellious children probably learned a lot more and have been able to be to move forward themselves in their lives and be more risk takers in a safe way, because as their brain matures, they start developing and seeing the safe way of doing the risky behavior. Go just far enough so that they can learn and change and do something new, but yet keep themselves safe. So it's a fine line, and as parents, it's really, really hard for us to sit back because we know in our mind, if they go too far in that risky behavior, what the consequences may be or could be. But we also have to bring it forward to now that we want our kids to make those choices and decisions, and we want to cheer them on for stepping out, being who they are, and trying new things. And yet in our minds, our stories are like, oh, if they go too far or too fast or whatever, they could get hurt or get injured. When in actuality, they are learning along the way of like, do I want to go further or not? And they're creating their own stories and their own safety mechanisms. So it's hard being a parent because we don't want our kids to be injured or hurt. But how much of that do we give them? How much of that leeway are we comfortable in giving them? And what are some questions that we could ask them that are open-ended where they help them to make those decisions like, you know, I probably should not do that because this could cause, you know, a problem for me. Or I'm going to try it. I've got this, you know. And so it's really hard, especially if your kid says, Mom, I've got this, I'm good. And you're like, okay. And you know, because you know what the dangers can be, and you don't want your kids to be injured or hurt. So we have to make that decision, right? Is this something that they need to learn? Is this something that, you know, definitely I don't want them walking off a cliff for sure. And then so we are always having to make that judgment ourselves as parents. It is hard to parent, don't you think? Right. We learn something, you know, we get to shift our own stories. If we know if it's a story from us, we get to recognize it as our story, and we get to create new experiences, and we get to see their thought processes from their view. No judgment. We're always learning. See, we are up leveling our stories that kept us, you know, playing small, that kept us back. We need to look at the stories that we have in our lives that impeded our being able to move forward and to create a new story, right? So we get to do it again with our teens and help our teens and asking our teens those open-ended questions and figuring out like, you know, just figuring out what it is that they're doing, what they're thinking, and is that how important that is to them and whatever, and being on board with them. So anyway, I'm Jean, and I would love for you to check out our newly structured Facebook community, Moms of Teens, connection and support for families raising future leaders. And this video will be sent to my email list also. And if you want to be on my email list, you can check out below here on Facebook. I'll put a link to the way that you can get into the email as well. Okay, so that I do a lot more training inside the email list than I do inside my group. So anyway, come visit us in the group. It's a lot of fun. And then also hang out with us in the email, and you receive a lot more of the videos and the training things that I don't do in the group. So it's two separate places. You get to be in both places and learn and have fun at the same time. So I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.